The single best queer movie with all the trauma and all of the amazing and sad, gut-wrenching, heartwarming, beautiful love story is... What? Okay, look, hear me out.
That is not the single best queer film ever made.
Let me explain. Hello, all you queer cinemaniacs. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Sheldon. Welcome to Lavender Lingo.
That's not when we normally do it.
It is.
Today we're talking about gay films and movies.
So grab your popcorn and your favorite candy because we're talking about the top of the top in LGBTQ cinema, plus sharing our favorites.
We're defining that as anything that follows a queer storyline, and not something like Bring It On, which is undeniably an LGBT film.
For much of history, the portrayal of gay characters in films was forbidden. With the enactment of the Hays Code in 1930, it made it unacceptable to show sexually perverse subjects, which unfortunately included homosexuality.
This led to the concept of queer coding. Queer coding identifies a character as LGBT through stereotypes and subliminal messaging, essentially communicating a character's sexual preferences or gender identity without ever actually explicitly saying that they are a member of the LGBT community.
Traits such as exaggerated masculinity or femininity, patterns of speech, sense of style, or hypersexuality are all common.
Characters that you may recognize this in are characters like Holly Golightly from Breakfast at Tiffany's,
The Lion from Wizard of Oz,
or even Pleakley from Lilo and Stitch. In many ways, these tropes created a double-edged... Sorry. Are you kidding?
Sorry.
In many ways, these tropes created a double-edged sword for the queer community. On one hand, we saw the continued use of queer characters in films and cinema, but on the other hand, they were often used to villainize us or outcast us in society.
This villainization was featured heavily in films. You can see it in many Disney villains like Ursula from The Little Mermaid, Jafar from Aladdin. Literally any Disney villain is pretty much queer-coded.
I just want to throw in there though that Strange World is really cute and you should go see it, which is the first time that we see a gay film, an LGBT film from Disney that really features a gay love story and a gay character
and
in such a positive light. And
because
yes,
we all know that Luca was a queer-coded love story.
Yeah, right. That was off topic.
Queer coding continues in modern films despite all the advancements in the gay rights movement.
Like we just said in Luca.
And also with Captain Barbossa in Pirates of the Caribbean.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
I think Jack, though, could be also queer-coded as a bisexual.
Bisexual.
Now, when it comes to queer cinema, and I mean specifically films that follow those queer storylines that we were talking about, we often see these common themes.
One of those things is a very experimental or powerful filming style where they make things look artsy and intimate. Great examples of this are Call Me By Your Name, Of an Age, Great Freedom.
Or like in the Black Mirror episode San Junipero, where
the one where they
that.
have the lesbians that they have in like the computer simulated living situation.
And they're all old in the outside world. Such a good storyline.
Yes.
Another really common theme is trauma. This is actually a really unfortunate theme that we see because trauma just tends to overrule every storyline in LGBT cinema. I mean, you cannot watch an LGBT film without seeing crazy amounts of poverty, crazy amounts of prostitution,
sexual assault, abuse, hatred
death.
From the community, from their family, death, right, disease. There's so much trauma that is packed into these stories, which unfortunately is a lot of what our community has had to go through in the past and continues to go through today. But I think it is important to focus or pay attention to the fact that most of the human population endures some trauma in their life. So while it is just a normal part of being human, it is overly emphasized, I think, in queer cinema. Another common theme is sad endings. It is very rare that you'll watch a queer film and that there will be a happy ending. Even where they've taken books and turned them into movies, where the books have had happy endings, I'm talking about Tell It to the Bees, and then for some reason they switch up the ending in the film to, I don't know, appease audiences or like create a point. I'm not exactly sure why we're doing this, but they're taking what could have been a happy ending and making it a sad ending. Because for some reason, it's like an expectation that people in the queer community are always going to have a sad ending.
Or that we respond better to sad endings, which, to be honest, that may be true for me. So, according to my list, to be honest.
The final common theme is inappropriate relationships.
Yes.
There are so many films about members who are much older, in their 20s, 30s, having romantic and sexual relations with people who are much younger than them. And while I'm sure that is a regular part of life and whatever, it's not specific to queer individuals, and it is kind of like overly emphasized in queer movies.
And it definitely creates a bad image for gay people, because what heterosexual cis-normative people are associating with queer culture is this idea of having inappropriate relationships with older versus younger, and I mean juvenile relationships, which again, we're actually going to talk about some of those as we jump into some of the best movies, which...
We're talking about You Call Me By Your Name.
Not Just Call Me By Your Name.
There's so many.
Blue is the warmest color. That's a different video.
Whole nother topic there.
Yeah. But I guess now we can jump into the top 10 of the IMBD's rated favorite movies. So that's not rated by us, that's rated by you guys.
So, number 10 on our list is a film called Moonlight. Moonlight is a story of a young man growing up in Miami and the challenges that he faces dealing with his sexual orientation and the abuse he endures from his family growing up.
Number 9 is Prayers for Bobby, which is a Lifetime movie drama that chronicles the real-life story of Bobby Griffith, a young man who commits suicide as a result of his mother's homophobia.
Number 8 on our list is a film called The Kids Are Alright. The Kids Are Alright is a comedy drama film which follows a same-sex couple raising 2 teenagers and the events that ensue after the 2 teenagers contact their sperm donor father.
Number 7 is A Single Man. This 2009 period drama, directed by fashion designer Tom Ford, follows a gay Englishman and the death of his lover and then his all-consuming depression.
Number 6 on the list is The Imitation Game. It's a biographical thriller film about crypto-analyst Alan Turing and his work decrypting German messages during World War II.
Number 5 is Weekend. This British romantic drama follows a romantic weekend between 2 gay individuals, before one ultimately decides to leave the country.
Number 4 on our list is The Way He Looks. The Way He Looks is a Brazilian coming-of-age film which follows a blind teenager and his budding relationship with a new classmate.
Number 3 is Handmaiden. This erotic psychological thriller follows a con man as he gets the help of a young woman to help steal an heiress's fortune, and something I really want to see.
Number 2 on the list is Call Me By Your Name. This is a coming-of-age romantic drama set in 1980s Italy about a summer-long love affair between a 17-year-old boy and his father's 24-year-old intern.
And the number 1 spot goes to Maurice. Based on the 1971 novel Maurice by E.M. Forster, this film follows a forbidden gay romance that takes place in Edwardian England.
And now for the most exciting part, we get to talk about our personal top 5.
Why is this the most exciting part?
I don't know, because it's about me. So I'll go first. Number 5 on my list is Cloudburst. Cloudburst is a comedy drama that follows a lesbian couple who escape from Maine and go to Canada to try to get married. A whole bunch of other craziness ensues, but it's number 5 on my list because 1, it's probably the only like geriatric LGBT film I've ever seen. It ended up being like one of the cutest movies. Secondly, they're just so lively and full of life and like mouthy and spunky, and I absolutely love it.
It's definitely who we're gonna be when we get older.
Yes.
So that one almost made my list, but it didn't because the ending, I mean, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but...
It's not heartbreaking. I shouldn't say heartbreaking. It's sad.
It's just,
But
you didn't need it.
it's also happy.
We could have ended on a happy note, and we did not need to end on a sad note.
So, on that note, go watch Cloudburst.
Yeah,
Tell us
it's
what you think.
so
Decide
good.
for yourself.
My number 5 on my list is actually going to be Viva, which, yes, we just watched last night for the first time. It is a Cuban film, right?
I don't know that the film is Cuban.
I know,
but
I'm
it
pretty
takes place
sure.
in Cuba.
Yeah, it takes place in Cuba, but essentially follows a relationship between a young LGBT and gay, specifically individual who, and their relationship with their father who's just come back into their life. And also on top of that, this individual is coming into drag and finding this drag character that he has named Viva.
It was a great film.
Absolutely amazing. I might be on a high from watching it just last night because like it just felt so empowering, but let me just say the ending, the climax, everything just hit so hard. It was so good. I mean, it was truly just happy and exciting and, you know,
It was a rare reversal of the themes almost where you saw so much of the negativity in the beginning, but then it really resolves to a good, happy place that you're like,
I mean, there is a little bit of sadness at the end.
there's sadness too, but it resolves well. We
does.
liked it. Number 4 on my list is Red, White, and Royal Blue, which is a comedy film that follows the son of the President of the United States who ends up falling in love with the Prince of Britain. It's like a stereotypical cheesy rom-com TV movie, I feel, but it was very good and very cute.
Also my number 4. So, I mean, that also ranks in the same spot as me, but it's because it's so cute. And to be honest, I know this is totally lame and cheesy, but I absolutely cried. I cried when because it was just so like emotional and happy and exciting. And I did not cry at the part that you'd think I'd cry
And
at.
we never get movies like that, so.
I want to ruin it for you, but really I want you to go
ruin it.
watch it, so watch it. If you haven't already, it was really popular this year.
Number 3 on my list is Benedetta. Benedetta is a film that follows a 17th century nun who, as a child, gets put in a covenant and ends up having a lesbian relationship with another nun later on in her life, and all of the craziness that ensues. It's interesting because it's like a medieval setting, but it is also interesting in that the main character is absolutely wild and just takes control of every situation she's in through manipulation. I don't even want to say that.
I don't know because I did watch this with him, but I fell asleep, so I actually don't remember the film.
Oh, it was great. Go watch it.
My number 3 is Tell It to the Bees. This story is about an ostracized doctor who essentially creates a relationship with this other woman in town's son as they take care of the bees that are left on her property. And then they have this relationship this friendship that evolves into a relationship, and they end up living together, and she works for her, and it's just an amazing, beautiful story with a couple sad plot points in there, but absolutely beautiful. And like we said earlier in the themes, the filming style is gorgeous. It's set in the 1940s, which is beautiful. It's just so much about the story is just absolutely amazing, and I really love it.
It is a good movie. So my number 2 film is Call Me By Your Name, which might be a little controversial, but I just absolutely love the filming style. I love the characters. I love the tension between them. I love the music in the film. I love how artsy it is. I am in love with Italy and Italian culture, so I absolutely love that movie. I can watch it on repeat over and over and over again.
This little guy, Lukey back here, his name was almost Elio because of that movie.
It's true.
Although, let me just say, while I do love that movie, I really hate the concept of... The main line in the movie is, call me by your name and I'll call you by mine, while they're... But to me, that is just so weird. I don't want to call him my name while I'm doing that.
I see...
It's just one plot point that I just
I
don't
see
like.
the depth of it, but it's okay if it's lost on Tyler.
The number 2 on my list is number 2 because of how much it meant to me as a child. The movie is But I'm a Cheerleader, which hopefully by now you've seen. But I'm a Cheerleader is about a girl who gets confronted by her friends and family who are convinced that she's a lesbian because she doesn't like to be with her boyfriend, and she's always looking at pictures of women or girls in cheerleading outfits. And she ends up getting sent to conversion therapy camp where she ends up falling in love with one of the other characters. And it is an absolutely cute and ridiculous movie. I love it. It was the very first time I ever saw a queer film on TV. I ended up staying up super late watching something, was flipping through the channels and saw that movie playing. Plus Natasha Lyonne is fantastic. Even though she is not a queer person, she constantly plays queer characters and does it very well. Because I only got to see like 2 seconds of the movie, I stayed up super late till like 4 a.m. the next night to be able to watch it. And it was truly the very first queer film I ever saw. And I think it's a wonderful movie. I think it's something that I constantly go back to and watch because it just is interesting and cute. And
it's so campy.
yeah, it can't be. And RuPaul's in it, so.
Shout out to RuPaul. For the moment we've all been waiting for. Film spot number 1. Drum roll, please. So my number 1 film is God's Own Country, which is a film about a young farm worker from Yorkshire whose family's farm is kind of going under, and they end up hiring a Romanian migrant worker to come in and help them. And after a lot of turmoil, the young farmer and the migrant worker end up falling in love, and I think it's my favorite. It's my favorite film because 1, it is so artistically shot. The setting is so beautiful. The love story between them is beautiful. The main character's journey to self-acceptance is beautiful, and I just think that it is yet another film that's not necessarily focused on trauma. Like, he's going through his own personal battles, but there's just highlighting how these two help each other overcome what they're battling by being together. And I think it's a beautiful film.
Okay, well now that his is over, because that was such a letdown, I have not seen that movie.
You have seen that movie?
I haven't.
I have literally watched that movie with you.
It does not sit on my memory because it wasn't
Well, then we're gonna watch it tonight.
worth it. Now, we can ramp up this list again because that was depressing, with the single best movie in all of cinematic gay lesbian history. No, not lesbian, because it is about gay men.
Stay in your lane.
The single best queer movie with all the trauma and all of the amazing and sad, gut-wrenching, heartwarming, beautiful love story is Brokeback Mountain.
What?
Okay, look, hear me out.
That is not the single best queer film ever made.
Let me explain. I know that is definitely a
controversial pick.
Yeah, it is controversial. I know that, but the fact is that the actual love story, despite the trauma, despite how sad of a movie it is, because it is truly one of the saddest movies that you could possibly watch.
Literally.
It is so important to our community and to our history. It shows so much. It shows an actual story of what real people had to go through. It's like you could not love somebody. You had to have a wife and kids. You had to experience all of this, masculinity that these two men were forced into. And also, I will say, again, just like But I'm a Cheerleader, it was the very first time I ever saw a gay relationship on screen, and I connected with it. That movie's been out since, I think, 2000 and something? Early 2000s? That movie's maybe even the late 90s?
No, early 2000s.
It doesn't matter. The point is that I saw it when I was a kid. And that, getting to see queer cinema when you're a kid, getting to see yourself on screen, because at the time, back in the early 2000s, I was not able to be a gay person. I was hiding my identity, and I was having to look forward to a life like what they lived and what they went through, hiding gay relationships. Because by the time I had seen that movie, that's what I was doing. Any gay relationship I had was secret and hidden. Even me as an individual, I was hidden, just like those characters. And so I really resonated with them, and it really stood out to me. I know that it's a lot different now for people growing up, and a lot different,
Don't age yourself.
Well, okay. But truthfully, it is just such an amazing movie, and I think that it's something that everybody should see.
I still wouldn't say that it's the best film in queer cinema. But to each their own.
You need chapstick.
Not you coming for me and my crusty lips on screen.
Now that we've talked about our individual favorites, there are some honorable mentions that make our list that I have to say. Starting with Great Freedom. Great Freedom follows a character who was a pink triangle during Nazi Germany, World War II.
The film follows him from his time in a concentration camp through the next several decades of his life, which majority of
until the 90s, until 94. He was continuously in prison because being gay was illegal in Germany until 94. So after leaving concentration camps, he then had to move immediately into prison, where he continuously was put back in prison for being gay and for being queer. And this follows him and a love story that he creates and builds with another individual while in prison.
This film was really inspiring to us, and honestly will end up being the topic of another video at some point, because it just kind of highlighted how persecuted gay individuals were during the Nazi regime and post-World War II Germany, and also how many of us were imprisoned and killed, not only in the concentration camps, but also in prison following that.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, World War II is one of my favorite subjects. I usually love all cinema that is dedicated to World War II, and this was one of those films, and the fact that it was an LGBT story on top of that made it even better for me. So definitely something that deserves to be on a list, even though it didn't quite make the top 5.
Number 2 is The Miseducation of Cameron Post. This film is set in 1993, and it follows a young lesbian girl who is sent away to a conversion camp by her aunt after she discovers that she is having a lesbian love affair.
Trauma.
The film doesn't take a super traumatic view of her time in the conversion camp, but instead highlights the humanity of the people that are there and their path to self-acceptance.
And you really, really get to know each one of these characters, and the characters are just written so well, and you just really feel for, what's the main character's name?
Cameron.
No, the actress.
Oh, Chloe Grace Moretz.
I think that's it. She does so good.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, like
phenomenal.
You really want to befriend the main character and the people that she follows. It's a really beautiful story.
Our final honorable mention is for all you gays out there. This film is
We can't talk about
quite
this.
Controversial, but also very good.
This is a wholesome channel.
It's a wholesome channel, I know. The film is called Stranger by the Lake, and it follows a man who frequents a cruising spot in the summer in France. And the chaos that ensues once somebody starts committing murders there. The film is very, very artistic, very beautifully shot. The setting is incredible.
Second. Let me just
but we
say
do need
before,
to give a forewarning.
Yes, this movie is not
X-rated.
to watch with your family.
Don't watch it with your family.
It is definitely a movie that takes a
Rather erotic turn.
corny, let's just say a corny turn. Because it's porn. And you cannot say.
That being said, the film is really good, beautifully shot.
But
beautifully
expect
set.
to see everything that you would see in that genre.
And also, you really come to care for some of the characters. And like the Miseducation of Cameron Post, you really get to dive into their humanity instead of seeing them on a surface level.
And it's another movie that really, really makes you think. Like you really have to dive into these characters' thought processes and like what they're saying and what they're doing. And I will say the ending is terribly sad.
So, we are going to take this moment to call out our serious lacking in LGBT cinema. We just recently kind of started diving into all these movies because we realized we don't watch gay films, and it's not something like that we avoid. It's just like we never come across them, and when we do, we always love them, but it's just not something we see a lot. And so we kind of took the time to suss them out and find out, you know, what was out there, and it's actually been a really cool experience for us. And there's a lot out there, shockingly. We are going to continue to educate ourselves and have the wonderful experience of getting to watch and dive into these LGBTQ stories.
We're thinking about sticking with our movie dates, and we're thinking about starting a Movie of the Month Club. And in order to do that, we're thinking about putting polls up on our social media so that you can vote and pick which movie you would like us to see next and maybe talk about next.
Yeah. So, if you're interested, let us know down in the comments.
And also, please go vote on that. Next time on Lavender Lingo, we're doing Lavender Languages Part 2. That is the languages of symbols. We'll be talking about everything from the colors of the flag to the hanky code, even purple rhinoceroses. All of the symbols that mean something for the community that we come from. But for now, we're going to sit back and watch a movie. So we'll see you next time.
What do you want to watch?
You pick.